Today's chat is brought to you by, well, all of your support. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through Podbean's crowdfunding, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the website and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a patron of the FFC, please be sure to visit our website and click on the support link. Even a single dollar helps, and for those of you who are already patrons, thank you again for your generosity.
You may have heard the whispers of guardians gathering in the shadows, exploring the mysteries of this world and the worlds which surround us. We are all in search of truth. Sometimes we need to focus that search. Focus that fire. And so we come together. Welcome to Focused Fire Chat.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on June 12th, 2020 over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. This week's episodes are going to be focused around exploring the lore book, The Liar. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the intro session of the week's exploration. Before we have any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
Before we have any further, is that what we're going with this time?
Before we go further, do we have any further? Oh, no. Hey, listen, if I ever did a perfect intro, I'd probably just, throw my hands up and be like, I'm done. I've done it.
This is the future forerunner, green-eyed music lover.
How far are you on that?
About as far as anybody else can be at the moment, because it's going to be time-gated. I've got, I think, 5 or 6 of the mods already done, and I do have the Heroic Public event finished. But the other ones...
Did you get all 3 of them?
No. So the Heroic Public event, I don't think is going to be available for all 3 bosses yet. I think it's going to be on a rotating list.
Oh, yeah, okay.
A weekly type thing.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because I got the Heroic the other day, but then I was running around because I know that real quick. And last but definitely not least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend, TheIceWarrior. IceWarrior, how are you doing tonight? Or this morning?
Not doing too bad.
What time is it where you are?
It's currently 1:10 in the afternoon.
Okay. I'm just going to say, how are you doing?
It's Saturday for him.
It's Saturday. Future's looking pretty good. Weather's not too bad. It's a bit cold, but you know.
Is the stock market still doing its thing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
It has not gotten any better.
It's not. Yeah. Okay. Oh man. But yeah, no. Yeah, they came out with that new title, and I was like, I remember Green. You messaged me. And then someone else messaged me. They're like, "So you gotta go for this?" I'm like, "Go for what?" Because I don't normally pay attention to just the generic titles. And I saw that, and I was like, "God bless it." So I'm like, "All right, let's look into see what it's gonna take." By the time I got done researching this thing, I'm like, I'm getting it just because of the 6 hours it took me to figure out what I need to do.
Yeah, Bungie's not been very clear on a lot of those kind of things. You kind of have to figure it out as you go. I do this week, just to let everybody know a little insight on the behind the scenes. Blue messaged me about the seasonal mods for the Triumph.
There are 3 different versions of seasonal mods, and for someone who doesn't pay attention to what a mod does,
my God. It took me an hour and a half to teach him where to go for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I was looking... Well, okay, and so the other problem is they aren't listed anywhere. There is nowhere that they're listed, which is really confusing.
Until you unlock them.
Mm-hmm. But they're not even in the collections.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So you just have to go back to Drifter daily to pick up your new one.
Yeah, speaking of which, I need to actually jump in and go over there. But, oh, man. So actually, Green, you know what? Since you are so good at leading people through things,
it is one of my favorite talents.
Walk through the introduction for IceWarrior.
Yeah, so IceWarrior, you kind of hinted at a little bit for those of those people who are paying attention to the math on the time zones, that you are at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, which means that you are most likely on the other side of the world. So whereabouts are you from, good sir?
I am from the great, huge, massive island called Australia. It is currently very cold over here. I actually live I live right at the bottom of Australia, the island state of Tasmania, an even smaller island in the middle of bloody nowhere.
Oh my goodness!
It is constantly cold down here, even during summer. So that's lovely.
And it's the winter season down there now, isn't it?
Yeah, we're so far south that people from all over the world come to exactly where I am in Tasmania to ship off to the Antarctic because it's so close.
Jeez.
That is both cool and terrifying.
It is quite literally very cool. Yes, you are very correct with that.
So where can we find you on the internet, or where can our listeners find you if they don't have you already on all these social medias and everything?
Oh, they'll be able to find me at TheIceWarrior1 on Twitter, TheIceWarrior209 on Twitch, on Facebook, and on YouTube.
So 209 on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, but Ice Warrior 1, by the way, there's an Ice Warrior 13 as well. Please do not go into his, although he may be a cool guy. You never know. Ice Warrior 1 is where you want to find. So, and speaking of Australia, we just had a raid show up. Destiny Down Under raided us.
Is it the Good Day raid?
Oh!
It is the Good Day raid. Welcome, Raiders.
Yay! Good day!
And not.
For those who are listening to the podcast, this is the benefit of being in the live stream.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Come join us on Friday nights. So, all the good days going on.
Saturday afternoons for me.
Yes. Yes. All right, so we figured out where you're from. We know where to find you on the interwebs. Now it's time to get into some of the just standard introduction questions. What is your favorite lore in Destiny?
That is a very hard question.
I know. It's one of my favorites.
I'm honestly, as much as I, being a hunter man, I'm all about Last Word and Thorn and just that initial story and then how that's evolved over the years. I've got to say, my favorite lore piece is Mara making the wish to have Shaxx come over and read her The Tempest.
Well, he doesn't need to read it. He just tosses the book off to the side. He has it memorized.
No, he blows the book up, actually.
Yeah, he just summons Arclight in his hands.
Oh, gotta love Shaxx.
Yeah,
all right, so if awesome. Mara and you said did you say Last Word or your story specifically, or?
Yeah, so the whole story surrounding, the rise of Razor Lazir, the fall, and then all the way through up until we end up crafting Lumina. It's just this massively long, epic story, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, there's some good stuff, especially the D2 stuff, a lot of the clarity that came forth with it. So, is that specifically the story that got you into lore exploration, or were you a lore explorer before Destiny?
I think the Last Word story definitely sparked something for me, but I'd always kind of found playing through Destiny 1 that the story just captured me. The way they crafted it was just so enticing. I wanted to learn more about the world that it took place in, and then I just started delving into every story and grimoire card and everything I could find, and here we are.
I bet you're pretty excited to see Exo Stranger come back after that whole Bungie stream last week. The clip's still up on. Well, it's not a clip. It's the whole stream's still up on Twitch. But I may be squealing at the top of my lungs and flailing my arms around like I'm absolutely insane. And to be honest, I kind of look a little bit insane while I do it. But yeah, I'm a little bit excited. I mean, lore people tend to be a little excitable. We've learned that over the last few months with Mr. Mylan Games and his going live alerts on Twitter.
He has been he's an inspiration to all. He really is.
He is. He's embraced it.
You mean his descent into madness? Am I twitching? Am I YouTubing? Like, am I Twittering? Help!
We're Australian. It's part of the DNA.
There you go. All right, I'm kind of guessing that with the way that you said it earlier, that you're a hunter main, or what class do you primarily play?
Hunter. I was Hunter D1 Beta. I've been Hunter ever since. As much as I don't know, I like hunters. It's always been like the kind of thing where their abilities have always been fun. I like moving generally quite fast. I'm not going to talk about the fact that the hunters should be the fastest class in Destiny when using Arcstrider, and I'm not going to talk about the fact that hunters get nerfed quite a lot. No, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to cry. It's not going to happen.
It's okay. We're all hunters here. It's a support group for you. But
God, it really feels like we need one.
Yeah, it kind of does. I just want tethers to actually work again. But I digress. Someday the glory will come back to the class and we will be able to wreck your faces. But crazy question, kind of out of the blue question that's not included in the show notes for you at all to look through. What is your biggest theory that is coming up with the releases? What sparked your biggest theory about what's going on with the Traveler or Elsie, or why Eris and Drifter's out there? Do you have any like big theories right now? Because that's kind of like the big thing that a lot of the community seem to be doing, is just like what is going on. So everyone's theory crafting out the wazoo.
Well, it's actually as a bit of an aside. My daughter, who is about to be born any minute, not any minute now, but at some point soon. My partner's almost 39 weeks along. Her name is actually going to be Elsie, and I, in my infinite wisdom, didn't realize that, Elsie Bray was a thing. So I completely forgot about that, and I was like, oh, well, that's a Destiny tie-in. There
you go.
Biggest theory?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually stated in some of the promo material that Eramis will be the Kell of Darkness. That she is going to take that role. She's going to be wielding the darkness, much in the same way that we're going to in the next expansion. With that being a thing, I think we're going to see, and I really hope we do, we see Mithrax come to the fore to help us in some way against Eramis, because he already has before. They've set that precedent. But I'm thinking we might even see the Traveler maybe intervene and give Mithrax some sort of ability, maybe not exactly like a Guardian, but there might be something there, and that would be the best time to bring it in, because that whole three-way battle between him, Eramis, and Varix. Oh God, I hope they bring that to the fore. But yeah, I'm really thinking that we're not going. This is not going to be the last we're going to see of someone like Eramis getting paracausal powers. We might see another Cabal do it, or we might see we might see another Fallen do it. Who knows? But I'm thinking we're going to see a little bit more of that in the future.
That would certainly be interesting. I know that a lot of people have discussed the possibility of the other races being allies besides Mithrax and the 0 hour mission, but the idea of them getting powers as well is something that I haven't heard yet, so I'm intrigued to see if that becomes an actual aspect of it, because we have seen the darkness give power, quote unquote, to the other races. Specifically the Hive is the most notable one, but it would be interesting to see if there is somebody, or maybe even a Vex. Like, I know the Vex aren't necessarily on our side or anything like that, but you never know. We did have that one Harpy, the Captain Harpy.
That's very true.
Yeah.
But
cool.
see that's the thing, is that's what's making me think about that at the moment. Is Eramis is called the Kell of Darkness, and Mithrax is meant to be the Kell of Light, of the House of Light. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do anything with that.
It would indeed. All right, Blue. Where do we have any special announcements this week, or are we good to head into the actual book itself?
No, I mean, other than just, I really appreciate the feedback that we've gotten from the the weekly lore roundups that we've been doing.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep doing that. We're doing a podcast and a YouTube kind of, I guess, series, air quotes, around that. The
articles,
the audio / articles one we're going to do
forming of the fellowship.
And then the video one we'll do every Friday. So just keep your eyes out on that. That'll be published over on thelorenetwork.com. But other than that, no, I don't think I have anything that I can think of off the top of my head.
Cool. So, time to dive into the book.
You want to start at the beginning?
Oh my gosh, you even did the nerd laugh. That's so cute. We're going to begin. We're going to do The Liar. And I get to start with the first card. So, guess what the first card's called? The Beginning, since Blue spoiled it. It's exciting.
Get it? We start at the beginning.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to slap you one of these days through the computer.
Freaking spoiler in the chat.
Spoiler. See, no spoilers. No spoilers. Amazingly, he stopped after just 2. All right. Here we go. The Beginning, Part 1. A risen Exo stood dazed in the middle of what looked like a giant library. He'd never been here before, as far as he could remember. He'd never been anywhere before. He couldn't remember anything, and all he had to go on was the name given to him by a strange silver drone. A name he didn't even recognize. Fellwinter. All around him were giant gilded shelves, half of them broken, littered with tattered books and cracked cylindrical cases. He stepped on a book and broke its spine as he walked. The little drone followed him. "I know you don't trust me," it said. "But you have no choice. Who else have you got?" "I don't know," Fellwinter said. He thought for a second. "I don't know anything." "Exactly. So you should listen to me." The soaring height of the ceilings made the building feel like an open space. Remnants of an old fresco loomed over his head, cracked and faded. Maybe it was beautiful once. Fellwinter trudged through the empty fog of his memory, trying to understand how he got here. "You're stubborn, obviously, but if we stay here long, you're going to die." Fellwinter tried to tune out the little drone's voice. He needed to think. He picked his way through the ocean of books, but stopped dead when an explosion rocked the building. He looked up. Dust fell from the faded ceiling in clouds. "See?" the drone said. "This is what I mean. We have to go. A place like this isn't safe." Beside them, a computer terminal, one that looked broken beyond repair, flickered to life. The buildings shuddered again. A warbling female voice came on over a PA system, crackling and distant. "Site-wide lockdown initiated." Then a reassuring male voice, smooth, but made eerie by the warped quality of the recording. "All library patrons, please report to the nearest emergency station. If you require assistance, an attendant can help you at the reception desk." The recording cut off, and the building shook again. Metal shutters began to descend over the windows, groaning from age and disuse. Something big hit the building, and debris showered down over them. "We should hide," the drone said, and Fellwinter had no choice but to agree. They fled the library. Outside, crouched in the rubble of another building, they watched together as the library was crushed under a torrent of what looked to Fellwinter like falling stars. "See?" the drone said. I like this book because it kind of gives you a little bit of flavor on Fellwinter's ghost, Fellspring, which we don't have her name yet in the book, but she's a little snarky, and hey, guess what? She's not going to tell you jack diddly squat like any other ghost. Oh my goodness. Yep. But Fellwinter wakes up in a library, and most likely on Earth, because it doesn't seem like he has intergalactic travel per se.
It depends on when you think that he... Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I was going to say it depends on when he gets obsidian wings, because, but then I remember obsidian wings is after he meets up with the Iron Lords. We're talking in chat. We're talking in chat real quick about there's a card from way back called Ghost Fragment, the Golden Age 2. And it refers to Anomaly 779, which is also known as the Never Be. And the reason why we're talking about it in chat is because it is specifically about a mysterious hallucinogenic fresco. And so that's why we were talking in chat, because it's he first said one of the first things he sees is this giant fresco, and it's just for me especially, it just immediately sparked my memory. I don't know. I don't think it's the same one because all he says is a remnants of an old fresco, cracked and faded. Maybe it was beautiful once. Whereas if you read Ghost Fragment Golden Age 2, it's like you get a lot of fun feelings by looking at it.
I mean, isn't that most Renaissance and prior frescoes?
Well, this one, yes, I would agree with that. But this one actually has, it has been moved, which is an interesting thing. But it calls out that there's evidence that the fresco ties into quantum computers set into a parallel dimension or on a distant world. So I don't think it's from the Renaissance.
Probably not. I mean, it could be.
Not humanity's Renaissance, at least. Maybe a Vex Renaissance.
Ooh.
But yeah, like
That's a terrifying thought.
So it's so good. And also, like, the Never Be is it's an actual, like, hallucinogenic thing. Like, I think it says something like 5 to 77 images are generated per participant. So it's like, it actually is like it reminds me of the sensoriums that you saw in the Croc and Mare intro book. That's kind of like the way I kind of take it. But yeah, I also did want to call out, this correlates with a entry that we got back in Destiny 2 Vanilla called Winter's Guile. This is basically happening concurrently with that entry. That entry actually has a bit more of the conversation that is going on. It is when Fellwinter is specifically given his name by Fellspring, and that's really all it is.
Yeah, cool. All right, so IceWarrior, do you want to take the second card, part 2?
I certainly can.
Absolutely.
All right. The beginning, part 2. Fellwinter and the drone traveled for 3 days. They saw nothing and no one. On the third night, still walking, Fellwinter looked up and saw meteors like streamers against the night sky. He was struck by the sight, and then by one meteor in particular, blazing, orange, getting bigger and bigger in the sky. Run, the drone said. The first meteor hit the ground behind them. Not a meteor at all, Fellwinter realized when he looked back, but something metal, man-made. The second hit its target. He died. 6 deaths later, crawling out from under metal wreckage, losing pieces of himself, clawing, running. They finally managed to find shelter in a cave. Fellwinter said, as if he was swallowing all of his words and choking on them. I can't fix you, the drone said after scanning him. That last hit corrupted right-protected processes in your cognition modules. The drone spun uneasily. You're an exo. Exos were made in the Golden Age, with proprietary tech. I can't hack into your head to fix the damage, but I can rebuild you as you were. If you shot yourself, I could work quicker. He did. When the drone resurrected him, Fellwinter crumpled to his knees. He sat down and put his head in his hands. Why is this happening? He asked. He looked at the drone, trying to read its body language. Because of you? It's after you, isn't it? No, the drone said. I don't know why. Then it gentled its voice. The Traveler told me to save you. That something was different about you. That ball in the sky you showed me? It talked to you? I can't explain it. Fellwinter grunted and held his head again. His body ached with the memory of 7 deaths, though he knew that was impossible. Can you explain anything? Not really. They sat in silence for a while. Eventually, the drone spoke up. We shouldn't stay in one place for very long. I don't think it's safe. Fellwinter stared at the ground, then finally looked up at the drone. How will I sleep? You don't need to. But I want to. That's fine.
I like how she still didn't answer his question.
Oh, yeah.
She's just like, that's nice.
I'm not concerned with your petty mortal concerns. You sleep if you want to, I don't care.
Mm-hmm. I like how the Exo stuff is called out here a little bit about the repairs on Fellwinter. His recovery stat is terrible.
Oh, yeah. But this actually ties into one of the ghost stories from I think it was Forsaken, with the the Guardian trapped on the Almighty. And the Ghost is talking about theories about how they actually resurrect Guardians. And it speaks of them possibly pulling out a template from an alternate dimension of the Guardian, or alternate timeline of the Guardian that they're assigned to. And that, I think, kind of leads into it a little bit more, because he says, I can't, get into your head and fix the damage, but I can rebuild you as you were before the damage took place. So I think that is a nice kind of tie into, this is actually, they have a template they work with. They go, okay, this is how they were. I can rebuild them to that point, but I can't fix the damage they currently have, when it comes to Exos at least, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and I think the only thing, and we're talking about that in chat a little bit too, the only thing that I challenge that with is that in the early Grimoire cards, it specifically called out that Exos are self-aware war machines so advanced that nothing short of a ghost can understand their inner functions. Which means, like, basically that the ghosts were the only things that could repair the Exos. So I found it curious that, in this situation, he's like, or she's like, I can't fix you.
She does call out that she can fix him, just that she can't fix him quickly.
I didn't read it that
I can
way.
make you as you were, is I think the line. I can make you as you were, but it would be faster if you killed yourself.
I can't hack into your head to fix the damage.
Yeah,
but I can rebuild you as you were.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I was reading that as she can't fix him, but she can recreate him.
Yeah. And she does say, if you shot yourself, I could work quicker, and that would be tying into the, his recovery stat is absolutely
mm-hmm.
But that's how I'm reading that. And anything regarding the Exos in any Grimoire card, I always kind of wonder of how much do people in the public know about Exos realistically? But then also, is this Clover Spray saying this? Is this the Clover Spray Corporation actually saying, all Exos are amazing? Yeah, I don't know. I'm always a bit wary of that kind of thing.
Well, and the other thing to take into account here also is not that in-game or in the story that we realize it just yet, but Fellwinter is in of himself not a normal Exo. And so
this is true.
And so, like, there's like two or three things that kind of like make me not think that this is, like, I know everyone loves me when I say this, is not a retcon of the Grimoire card, because first off, Fellwinter, we go to find out Fellwinter is a special situation, but also, and this is what I think Black Flag was mentioning it, Fellwinter's injury is a neurological injury. It's not a physical injury. So when she says, where is it? Proprietary tech can't hack into the head. When we get to the Siddhartha Golem card, we also see that it's something similar with Rasputin. So there might be something going on with Fellwinter's internal circuitry that is actually prevented both to his benefit, and here you see the negative side effect of it. So, there's a couple different options there that make me not too concerned, but I did find it interesting that we get that little bit of detail from Fellspring here.
Absolutely. Any other concepts or questions for this card?
Not really. Well, actually, no, there is one thing. I think this is something that Fellwinter does kind of show this, though not as openly throughout the rest of his life. He's tired. He's very tired. From the moment that he wakes up, he's just, you get the sense that he kind of feels that. And that is a sense that doesn't really go away. And I think that actually does come up in the Obsidian Wings, where in that lore bit where he does have that option to, do what he's going to do. You kind of still get that sense of he's just tired, and he just always has been. And I think that's really interesting, especially when it comes to Exos and having these human mannerisms and whatnot. You kind of feel like he has that a little bit more strongly, I guess, than most other Exos, which is interesting.
I'd rather be tired like Fellwinter than hungry like Drifter, though. Just saying.
Oh.
Drifter and his never-ending need for food.
I was going to say, on the fatigue, it reminds me of the Ghost Fragment XO3. I don't think they're the same. I don't think Ghost Fragment XO3 is Fellwinter, because it talks about fighting in a war and stuff like that. And
endlessly.
Yeah, and I think like, and it also taught like the Exo that's speaking in Ghost Fragment 3 is like he's like beaten up, like, and I don't ever get that sense from Fellwinter, but I do, and this is another thing that I will be bringing up when we get to the Siddhartha card, because I actually just thought of it, but I think I might have an idea of, or I have a theory maybe of where the fatigue comes from, but it will be then, not now, because I don't want to spoil it.
Well then.
Righto.
Let's move on so we can get closer to that card. We're going to start with the name. And I'm skipping over blue as far as reading it because I color-coded wrong on the show notes, so I'm just going to go with it. It's fine.
Awesome.
It's fine. I'm good at this, guys. I've only been doing it for, 4 years now? 3 years now?
Yes.
Yeah. So, number
temporal
3.
passage is not my strong suit.
The name. 6 months of running taught Fellwinter 2 lessons about life. The first lesson was this: anything could happen at any time without explanation or reason. The second lesson was this: it didn't matter how unfair something seemed, recognition of injustice could not create a just world. There were other lessons too, though those were more tactical. Never rest in the same place twice, and don't rest at all if you can help it. Never cross an open field if a less exposed route exists. Beware of meteor showers. Look out for organic enemies, but don't waste your time avoiding them. They aren't the real threat. That night, Fellwinter and the drone sheltered together in a loft of an old barn. A vicious rainstorm outside impaired visibility enough just to justify an overnight. But Fellwinter couldn't stop himself from thinking, from assessing. Flimsy building. Big empty field. Low attack readiness in this loft. Flimsy building. Big empty field. Low attack readiness. And still, no matter what the drone said, that he didn't need to sleep, he felt an inexplicable exhaustion. He couldn't locate it precisely. It permeated all of him. The drone noticed. It never said anything, but Fellwinter knew it noticed. He rested his head on his knees. Beside him, the drone hovered at his shoulder, drifting away occasionally to assess the weather through a glassless window. Eventually, Fellwinter raised his head. "What's your name?" he asked the drone quietly. "What?" "Your name," he said. "You gave me one. What's yours?" "I haven't thought about it." Silence fell between them again. They lived in silence, but in recent days the silence had changed. If before it was the silence of strangers, now it had become the silence of a team, where each member knew their job and what was at stake if they didn't perform. The lights of Fellwinter's eyes narrowed briefly into lines as he thought. He glanced at the drone. "Spring." "What?" the drone said. "Fellspring," Fellwinter said. "That's your name." They stared at each other. "Are you serious?" the drone said. "Fellspring?" Fellwinter gazed past her. Silence again. "Fine," said Fellspring. "Are you serious?"
Are you serious? I love, like, just like she's like, I give you a blank book to name me, and this is the you come up with.
I mean, it's better than Ghost.
I don't know. Tyrus is pretty happy about that.
Why is it when I hear that, I'm immediately thinking, you would absolutely be Fellspring in this instance. Like, are you serious?
I like it. Now, the other thing I wanted to
seem like they'd be great friends.
Yeah, they probably would be. They're both kind of sassy. It may be just my reading of it too, though.
No,
I like making it.
It's pretty aligned.
That's canon.
Yeah, that's pretty aligned with my reading of it. I definitely got the sass.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you imagine a Ghost conference being like Sundance, Fellspring, Sagira, Pulled Pork? Pulled Pork could just be the clueless little brother just going, "Oh, this is nice. Hey guys, hello." And then everyone's just trying to be really serious about it. And they're just like, oh, God.
It strangely looks like an AA meeting, but for Ghost.
Oh, that happens. They're talking to each other going, "Guess what my guardian did today?"
Again.
Well, for the 50th time, my God.
Why are you doing that way?
Please let this be a thing. I want a law book of just AA meetings for ghosts. I want it so bad.
I mean, we have Ghost doing their, what was it, the Ghost Theater Presents.
But why is it so sexually charged?
Ghosts have feelings too.
Oh, we noticed.
Unrealized, repressed feelings for other ghosts, guardians. Unsure. Ghosts apparently have a thing for guardians, particularly Shax.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And Marcus.
But, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Blue. I don't have anything about besides
the only big thing
into that.
Yeah, the only big thing on that one is like it's 6 months since the resurrection of him. So like it is kind of like there's some like really subtle call outs to the passage of time here, which I kind of like. We do have a couple that have no passage time, which I'm like, ugh. I was like, maybe we could track how long. Nope.
We're never going to get that. What are you talking about?
Negative. So I think mine is the Assailant. Perfect. After 3 weeks without any incidents, Fellwinter and Fellspring stopped avoiding main roads. They started passing by other traveling parties, even a small camp. They never engaged until an Exo Risen asked to tag along with them on his way to a place called Red Valley. Neither Fellwinter nor Fellspring liked the idea, but they both reluctantly accepted it, with an unspoken agreement between them that it shouldn't last. "Nice day, isn't it?" said Griffin 11. He looked up at the blue sky and opened his arms. "Good traveling weather. We're lucky." Fellwinter and Fellspring exchanged a look, then focused on the road ahead again. Griffin looked at Fellwinter, hoisted his pack up on his shoulder. "Where are you headed anyway? You never said." Fellwinter took a beat too long to say, "Not sure." This stumped Griffin. Inexplicably, Fellwinter thought, "Huh," he said. "Just walking? You could come with us," said Griffin's ghost. She wore a green and yellow shell with flower-like petals. "Nope," said Fellspring. Then, remembering the world of polite conversation, she added, "We're going somewhere. We just don't know the name." Griffin and his ghost absorbed that information, nodding. "An adventure," Griffin said finally with a grin in his voice. "Right? This whole world's an adventure, isn't it? And we get 1,000 chances to live it." Fellwinter said nothing. He felt uneasy. He rarely spoke, but when he did, he never sounded like Griffin did. His voice never sounded like that. He never even had the impulse to talk that way. Why? They walked on, passing through a string of abandoned factories. There was evidence of the fallen everywhere, but it looked old. Ripped up banners, trampled in the mud. A walker stripped of most its parts. Griffin loosed his gun from its holster, casually, but didn't break his step. Gunfire stuttered out from an open doorway. A bullet clanged off Fellwinter's shoulder like a clapper off a bell. Arming his rifle, he returned fire in the direction the shots had come from. He should have known this was a bad spot. Low visibility, a lot of corners, squat buildings they couldn't see inside of, hundreds of rusty shipping containers to hide in. The doorway was a decoy. 10, 20, 30 armed and armored combat frames with glowing red eyes spilled out of warehouses to their left and right. Moving with discipline and an eerie synchrony, the frames began a pincher maneuver trying to pin them down. Griffin swore. "We have to get to cover," Fellwinter said. Fighting back to back, rezzing each other when they died, Fellwinter and Griffin took down some 15 frames with gunfire alone, and a few more with grenades. Several got back up despite crippling damage, tottering forward on bent and broken legs, relentless, single-minded. They drew inexorably closer as the two Exos ran down their ammunition and energy. It was Griffin who saved them in the end, with 3 bolts of arc light that erupted out of his hands. As the frames closest to them disintegrated in a shower of blue light, Griffin whooped and said breathlessly, "I've never done that before." Fellwinter went to examine one of the mostly intact frames. Griffin followed. "Damn," he blurted. "Do you know what these are?" "No," Fellwinter said. "Not Exos." Fellspring zipped in between them. She scanned the frame, bathing it in blue light. She hesitated and then offered, "Rasputin?" "I think so," Griffin's ghost agreed. "See this logo?" She indicated a symbol on the frame's chassis that looked a little like a military badge. "Matches my database." "Yeah," said Griffin. He looked at Fellwinter. "What'd you do to get a war mind on your case?" Fellwinter stared down at the frame. "What's a war mind?"
Does anybody else get the feeling that Griffin is like Griff from RVB, Red versus Blue?
Do you ever wonder why we're here?
Did you ever wonder about just life in general?
What's all that stuff about God? Do you want to talk? No.
Just a little bit.
I get this massive feeling like Griffin kind of has the same kind of personality as I imagine Lord Timur does. So it probably isn't going to be the same guy, but it really feels like it, especially the way that he kind of talks to Fellwinter later on is okay. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think Griffin's like a little bit more carefree than Timur. I mean, I see what you're saying though, because like he's very stream of conscious kind of.
Yeah.
But like he's also like super not jaded, whereas Timur was definitely
he's
insane.
A Cade group. Like he's like Cade.
Yeah.
Without the gallows humor.
Griffin is the Destiny version of Team Avatar. Encountering the musical
group. Secret tunnel.
The secret tunnel.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a funny aside. My partner had been seeing that for the last 2 years, right? hadn't realized what it was from. She could not remember. Just every so often she's like, secret. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. So if we sat down and rewatched Avatar, right? I, of course, had forgotten about it myself when it got up to that episode. And then she's like,
oh my gosh.
I didn't hear the end of it for the next 2 weeks. It's all that she was saying.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I did want to call out. I like the kind of call out here that ghosts have a basic database.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait, back up.
That makes sense, though, because they have to carry around their own information. They would have to, that would also explain why the ghost had no idea what the pyramid was when our ghost saw the pyramid for the first time.
True, even though it wasn't his first time seeing the pyramid.
I know. We know. Ghost is forgetful. Defragmentation's happening all the time. Just losing his mind.
That's why we don't download the world's grave, Ghost. It's too much information. But no, I think that was an interesting thing, tying back into a couple theories about where ghosts come from, at least. Because, they have Rasputin in their database. That's interesting. Okay, cool. All right, carry on.
That actually brings up a very interesting point. I mean, just over our time frame from the moment we're resurrected in D1, Ghost has downloaded a bunch of stuff, like every mission, strike, raid, everything. He's downloaded a lot. How is he just not just exploding from that information by this point? That's just insane.
I know, with the
it's
world,
why he can't open doors very quickly. It's why we have to fight things.
They need to do a system defrag,
Because I know from the World's Grave that there is a call out that he takes the World's Grave information and he makes a comment. He's like, "Oh no, this is way too much." And there's a call out, I think either in the mission, I want to say it's in that mission, but he basically makes a comment about going back to the city to get rid of it. He's like, I need to upload this because I can't do it. So I know there is and we know with the Ghost Network, with that, the unconnected ghost form for the intelligence stuff, there is a degree of a network that they can connect and share information on, which is also super interesting because you see a similar network with the Frames and the Redjacks, because that's what Arcite and Dahlia keep inadvertently hacking. Is they keep overwriting all the frames around them on that kind of wireless network,
which actually does kind of because it was a Destiny 2 it was a Destiny 2 bloody high video that Bungie had organized. It was one done in Japan where it was that live action trailer for it.
Oh yeah. The dance
basically confirms that ghosts are Bluetooth speakers. They are.
I really
absolutely
wish that was accurate in game, because I still love the the very, like, one of the very first ones where they're on the moon. He's like, Ghost, play something nice. And it's like the classic, I think it was like, was it Hell's Bells? It was like, it was something AC/DC. And it was just
the
like,
old,
it's
commercial.
Just like, oh my gosh. I was like, yes, I want that.
Imagine if we could sync up. We have the Ghost just flying by us, just pulsing with the music, and we could just hook it up to like a Spotify playlist.
I mean,
Bungie,
to be fair, that's what Pradith and Kabir and Pahaning were doing in the Great Ahamkara Hunt. They were chasing the Ahamkara while listening to pulsing Golden Age music, I think is what they described it as.
Dubstep. They're total dubsteppers, you know it.
Yeah.
Light flashing.
Of course they are.
Oh God! Now I'm just picturing them going through the vault and just be like.
That's why they went to the vault. It's got all the glow sticks.
Oh no!
And you know, the best part is what's the effect of radiolarian fluid? It's hallucinations.
No.
It's liquid ecstasy.
They're going to be listening to dubstep, tripping balls, trying to kill everyone. Oh wow!
It's the Vex radio.
Oh wow!
You can't see it, but I'm face palming.
Nothing but the highest quality content here on the channel.
Absolutely.
Discussing the real questions. Do Guardians get high as when going on a raid?
You know, they probably do. You have some of them. I have a theory about what happens, like the difference between the Red War Beast and the Leviathan War Beast. That's maybe a show on Spinfoil Theory at some point. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I think we should go to the bunker before we get too much down this rabbit hole. So if you could do us a favor on that one, ASSAILANT.
I can get it open, Fellspring said, as Fellwinter pried open two rusted metal doors with his hands. You don't have to do that. The metal screamed as Fellwinter ripped the two doors back. They were deep underground in a bunker Fellspring had struggled for 6 days to locate. Now that they'd found it, Fellwinter realized he didn't know what they were looking for. I don't know very much about Rasputin, Fellspring said, floating cautiously beside him. I thought he was deactivated, or destroyed in the collapse. Fellwinter walked forward. The room was like a time capsule, untouched, preserved, as if technicians might walk in at any time to work the control panels lining the walls. It reminded him of the library where he'd woken up, just in its complexity and maybe beauty. Was this beautiful? He wasn't sure. So why would a Maulmind be after us? Fellwinter muttered. Wellspring hovered to examine a flat black surface on one of the control panels. I don't know. Fellwinter came up beside her. He hesitated, and then reached to touch the shiny blank surface of the panel. It blinked to life under his hand, bright code and controls glowing orange, rearranging themselves as he dragged his finger across them. How did you do that? Fellspring whispered. Fellwinter shook his hand. He touched another blank panel, and lights came on all over the bunker, waking it up. I don't know, he said. Really setting up the rest of the story for Fellwinter here in this one, which I quite enjoy. But it's just interesting that Fellwinter, it kind of get the feeling like he either just doesn't trust his ghost too much still at this point, or even he's like, I just can't be bothered, and just straight brute force approach rips the bloody doors open just to get in.
I almost want to say it's the secondary one just because of the impatience factor, because they're working together and they understand things, and he just does not want to be out in the open in any way, shape, or form at this point. But Blue, did you have anything on the bunker?
The only thing is this is the last one that we have a definitive date, and I would say this is probably about 7 months after his res date. That was really the only big thing to me. There's a couple other big things that happened, but they're obvious, like his activating things and stuff like that. Again, we'll definitely start figuring out why that is later. I think that's going to be around the search or the discovery. The discovery is when we kind of get all that kind of confirmed.
Yeah. As an aside note for the bunkers as well, and I did tweet about this a couple of times. I really hope that the cat in the bunkers is okay. That cat that you see disappear behind the boxes.
Yeah.
It's amazingly little tiny piece of world building that is just beautiful and amazing, and I love it. And it's just part of this whole evolving world thing, and it's great. I want them to have saved the cat. I want the cat to have a bed in Zavala's office, or it has the bed in Zavala's office, and you just see it wander around occasionally with Zavala and Ikora and everything, and Zavala just absolutely hates the thing. Just like, oh God, get away! You hear like voice lines from him going, "There's cat hair all over my chair." You know, just weird stuff like that would just be just so good.
Playing with the yarn ball.
Oh,
one of Zavala's yarn balls.
And you can interact with him. And you can interact with him, just like give him a pat or something. Seriously, Bungie just needs to hire me at this point.
I like it. I like it a lot. Alright, so we move on to the mountain, which is the card that I stole from IceWarrior.
Yes.
The mountain. Warsats and combat frames found Fellwinter and Fellspring everywhere they went. They weighed the pros and cons and decided that a fortified home base was safer than picking a new ramshackle camp every time they wanted to rest. It was risky, but so was everything. So Fellwinter climbed a mountain. At the top of it was a pre-Golden Age observatory they found in a map database in a Seraph bunker. It was the perfect place to hide. It had a 360-degree view of the surrounding area, existing structures that could be fortified, a mountain they could burrow into to hide themselves beneath thousands of tons of rock. "He won't find you up here," Fellspring said. "Or, at the very least, you'll see him coming." She sounded almost hopeful. "Maybe we could finally stop running." Fellwinter looked warily at the sky and said nothing. The only problem with the mountain was that it was occupied. A warlord named Castor had claimed it and the village at the mountain's base. But Fellwinter knew that everyone had a price, and he called on Castor to negotiate. Warlords, he learned, were poor negotiators. They were almost never willing to give ground. In the end, Fellwinter shot Castor's ghost and pushed him off the side of the mountain. A month later, during a routine patrol of the mountain's perimeter, Fellwinter found a woman sitting on a rock ledge halfway down the mountain. Beside her, there was a wooden crate of sad-looking crops, and another heavy with ammunition. She stood up when he arrived. Fellwinter exchanged a look with Fellspring, then asked the woman, "Who are you?" "My name's Arthi," she said. "You killed Lord Castor, didn't you?" "Yes." "So you're the lord of this mountain now?" "It's my mountain," Fellwinter said, "but I'm no warlord." Arthi studied him. She had a thin, weathered face and calculating brown eyes. "My village is down there," she pointed down the mountain. "We need protection." That was Castor. "Now, it's you." She pointed to the crates as if she were explaining something to a very simple child. "This is our payment." Fellwinter looked at her, then at the crates, then said again slowly, "I'm no warlord, and I don't need your food." Arthi's expression was as blank and unreadable as his own. "I'll be back next month." I like Arthi. She is sassy.
Arthi's also really important, actually, in Fellwinter's story. Mm-hmm. But I'll talk about her a little bit more with the next entry, actually, which is where her importance really shines. I do want to say real quick, sorry. Mm-hmm. I really hope that Castor's ghost was named Pollux.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
If that's the case, Fellwinter killed him in the right order. You kill Pollux first, and then you kill Castor. Because if you kill Castor first, Pollux will save him. Yay, mythology!
I kind of almost imagine at this point that he's killed his ghost, and Castor's just like right there, and he just goes, "This is my pick," and then just Sparta kicks him off the mountain.
I wonder how far he'll fly.
No, now I'm just thinking of him just floating through the air like that meme. It's like, and he just Cass is floating off into infinity.
How far can you fly? How many flaps does a dead ghost?
Oh no! I was just thinking, how did Arthi know that Castor was gone?
He landed in their village, probably.
Just kaplunk.
It's just like the, what was it? I think it was like a while back we were talking about, where do all the guardians that jump off the tower go? Like there's like a support group for the civilians that live against the wall.
God, I remember that.
It's like, oh no, oh, it's just another guardian. Okay, never mind. Back to normal, just to keep going.
Like all the houses near the tower have just like reinforced metal bloody roofs for all their houses just to make sure.
Oh, I can't. No,
this is Vostok.
That hurts me.
Oh, he lands in the village, Avengers Endgame style, with the whole just. What's going on?
Oh my
God. So begins the tradition of guardians throwing themselves off high peaks.
Yes, because it is always a dream of the guardians to fly, because their super ran out.
Warlocks.
Blue, do you want to close out the intro session with Warlord?
Yes, actually. So, Warlord. True to her promise, Arthi came back the next month with 2 more crates. This time both were ammunition. She sat next to them, hugging her knees for warmth and looking out at the valley below, until Fellwinter came by to retrieve it. I thought this might be more useful to you, she said, since you don't want food. Fellwinter looked at her, took the crates, and then went back up the mountain. The month after that, she brought salvaged weapon parts. When Fellwinter came to retrieve them, she watched him until he turned to go and then said, I know about you, you know. When he turned around to look at her, she lifted her chin. They call you Lord Fellwinter. I hear you've killed more warlords than Castor, over old technology, from the time before the collapse. Not a warlord, Fellwinter murmured, hiking onward. Arthi watched him and then called to his back, Just because you say that doesn't make it true. She came back the next month, and the next month, and the next. They spoke a little more every time, about life in the village, about what they imagined the time before the collapse was like, about the future. The 7th time he saw her, he lingered a little while. Together they looked out over the valley beyond the mountain. You could really help us, Arthi said softly. All of those Golden Age technologies you know so much about, we could live a totally different life. Fellwinter stood completely still, looking over the horizon. I can't, he said. She looked at him, trying to read his expression, and then looked sharply away. They stood in silence for a while. You know, she said, pointing down the mountain, warlords have been crashing through our village for ages, stepping on us, tearing up everything we plant, tearing down everything we build. I'm not a warlord, Fellwinter said quietly. Sure, she said, but you're like them. You get 1,000 second chances. You get to live in a big fortress on top of a mountain. What do you think it's like for us? What do you think it's like to have the sky constantly falling down on you? Fellwinter stared at her. Arthi crossed her arms. It must be nice, she said. Her expression softened, not for him, but for herself, for her people. To not have to worry. The next month, Arthi didn't come to meet him, nor the month after that. So, couple of things real quick. I actually have some notes on this one. So, Arthi is actually a Hindu, I think it's a Hindu name. I know it's actually also a Hindu term. But it's a name that refers to the Hindu religious ritual of worship, which is a part of a puja, which we talked about back with Pujari. But so an Arthi is a process or a ritual in which light, which is usually from a flame, is offered to one or more deities. So her name is literally a callback to a ritual in which you offer light to a deity or deities, which I found that really interesting because her character here is showing Fellwinter the beauty of humanity. I also find it very interesting that, as with a lot of things with Bungie, it's the 7th visit, which is also her last visit. She makes the comment, what do you think it's like to have the sky constantly falling down on you? Now, it's clear here that she doesn't understand what she just said to him. But Fellwinter, what happens with Fellwinter here is a transformative moment. Because what just happened there is Fellwinter just connected with humanity. all of humanity is constantly having the sky falling down on top of them. They're constantly being attacked, chased. They live in constant fear, which is exactly what he's doing. He is now able to empathize with someone. Before, the only Guardians in Risen that we had seen was Griffin. Griffin is, and he doesn't connect with Griffin at all. He doesn't understand Griffin's paradigms or anything that he wants to do. But Arthi, a human, an old human woman, is seeing the world through the eyes just like he is. And I think that's a really big deal for Fellwinter. I think that's why, and we'll talk about this in the next session, but that's why the very, very next thing is him abandoning his security and actually going out and looking for not weapons, but a very specific something to help humanity. He's not looking at it to help he doesn't even know the Iron Lords at that time, but he's not helping other warlords. He's actually doing this to help humanity, which kind of ties into, I believe, Green, you had talked about the story of Siddhartha Buddha, and how like he took on he experienced the travesty of the death in the village, and then he was like, wait, hang on, this is life. Like what I've been living is not reality. It's something else. That's kind of what Fellwinter's going through right now, is that kind of transformation in his brain of like this understanding of like, and Arthi, I love the two sides of this conversation that you get to see in this card, because Arthi doesn't know this. Arthi, and you can tell with her conclusion here, it's like she tells him it must be nice to not have to worry. And Fellwinter's sitting there going, are you insane? Like, I'm having to worry. I'm paranoid because of this stuff. Now it also, we don't have confirmation that Arthi dies, but we do know that this is the last time that Arthi is seen by her. But I think the lesson here, and this is similar to, I made a comment when we were talking with the group about the Shax and Fellwinter fight. Arthi taught Fellwinter this connection to humanity. And Fellwinter, in a way, actually kind of passes this on to Shax as well. And it's this idea that, like, again, going back to that Ghost Fragment Exo 3, the idea of Exos being cursed. It's here that Fellwinter kind of starts seeing that he's not alone in that curse. He's not alone in his fear, but he is capable of actually protecting the other people who are with him in that. It's not everyone is there on the same level. He's actually strong enough to carry and to shield those people below him, which is interesting given the parallel between him and Rasputin that we're going to see, because Fellwinter chooses a drastically different path than Rasputin does when they're presented with very similar situations on different scales, of course, but the situation arbitrarily is very, very similar. And the different choices that the two make are, to me, very interesting. Yes, and Dancing Varu is also giving me the Sanskrit meaning of Arthi is something that removes darkness. So again, something else that's very significant within Destiny.
I think when it comes to Arthi, in these moments, and it's something you've definitely you've talked about there. Arthi really is the catalyst for change for Fellwinter. Had Arthi not uttered that last line of the sky falling down and not having to worry, I don't think he would have made as much, or if any kind of connection that he did at that point. That it was such a pivotal moment, a pivotal couple of lines for him. In regards to Arthi's fate, I think she might have actually passed, or at least had moved on from where she was, because it says that it's 7 times, and on the 7th visit she left. And it kind of ties into that whole biblical, and on the 7th day, God rested when he created the world. But it was also, how many times did Fellwinter die at the beginning? He died 7 times, and it specified 7 deaths. And we see this 7 come up again when he's speaking to Arthi. So it's very possible at that point that Arthi, it could just be fed up with him and just doesn't want to talk to him anymore, or it could be that she in some way passes, which would lend even more emotional weight to the connection that he has and his drive to try and do something to help humanity at this point.
I like it.
And real quick, Dancing has a point. Well, actually, I want to call two things out. Black Flag with an FDR quote, which is an amazing quote. It's courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important than fear, which is a great quote. And then also Dancing is making the point that, you know, he's thinking that sky falling down might generally be a trigger for Exos, with some of the other contextless lore tidbits that we have, like a couple of the ghost fragments. There's constantly when we know that an Exo is speaking and the mention of sky falling down, there does seem to be kind of a very heavy emotional response to it. And then Black Flag's talking about, and with Fellwinter, the sky is literally falling down every time he steps out in the open because of the war sats. So, sorry.
Rasputin doesn't have very good aim then.
Well, you know, Wei Ning would disagree with you, but...
How is it that Rasputin misses Fellwinter over and over, but totally nails Wei Ning?
I have a theory on that, too.
Does it have to do with the fact she's a Titan?
No, it's basically, I don't think he's actually trying to hit him, I don't know. I go back and forth on whether or not he's actually trying to hit him.
Well, he does get him. He does
nick him a couple times. Yeah, it's like, Black. Yeah, we'll talk about that one.
Maybe he just can't be all that accurate. He can get. Maybe he has just a range in which he can hit a subject in. But
yeah, maybe Fellwinter is the one that he used as practice because Wei Ning came afterwards.
Or he needs an hour and a half to actually take aim at something. Just saying.
Aiming a war sat is not something that takes 3 seconds. It takes 90 minutes to get everything properly aligned. And
look, you think it was bad for you guys. You think it was bad for you guys. I was up at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning. Yeah. I had work the next day. Like, this was not fun for me.
Literal shots fired.
I want to go to sleep. Everyone on the Australian Destiny side of things was like, just let us go to sleep, please.
I know that Log was having a drinking party, essentially waiting for this thing to happen. Whenever he was streaming it, it's just, oh my goodness, yeah.
But interestingly enough, I reckon Rasputin, if he was Garden, would be a hunter main. Because if you think about it, he destroys the hell out of Fellwinter, a warlock. He destroys the hell out of Wei Ning, a Titan. But he's best mates with Anna Bray, who's a hunter. So Rasputin likes his hunters. That's all I'm saying.
Biased.
Yeah.
He's classist. It's fine.
He was made by hunters, but that's okay.
This is true.
You guys want to do the shoutouts for the intro session real quick?
Quick wrap up? Yeah. So, Ice, could you give us another rundown of places where our guests could find you, to follow you, and keep up with all the content that you've got putting out? Good Lord, words.
Words, things, moments. Yeah, sure. So follow me on Twitter at TheIceWarrior1. I wish I could change that, but yeah. The IceWarrior 209 on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. I actually just put up a video of the Fellwinter's Wide story, and I've actually just recently put up a video of the recap of the last 3 seasons of War going into Season of Arrival. So go check it out.
Very nice. And we will get those for the show notes, absolutely, for you. All right. So next week, as far as my shout-outs going on, we're going to do our initial thoughts on Season 11, though if I had it my way, I might convince Blue to reschedule that. So the initial thoughts are actually closer to the beginning of the season when we release the episode. So you might be hearing this, and it might be a moot point later on.
Nah.
Yeah.
What's with your logic? Scheduling logic.
But
as we in Australia would say, nah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Blue, shots for you.
I just wanted to say a big thanks to both ARF and Worthy D for the amazing feedback that we got from you guys. We really appreciate the words, and I promise Green will answer ARF's question.
What if the white worm familiar is related to the Ahamkara? There's like 6 questions in here.
All I know is that it started off with Green made me do it. So, I'm like, what I read was not my fault.
just gotta shift that blame just as we say it. Yeah.
Just whoop. But big thanks for the feedback. We always love hearing thoughts and questions and whatnot. But as always, thank you for your time. And until next time, remember, with wisdom we conquer. Stand strong, stand tall, and keep exploring. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusedFireChat. Links to all our episode archives can be found at www.thelorenetwork.com. Please be sure to email us at focusedfirechat@gmail.com with any comments and or questions for the team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.